Yo, welcome back guys. So I want to talk about how to get into head voice. So I figured since I was rebooting, since we've got this new channel, that I would go back to basics. I'm going to make just some very simple videos about simple voice problems that many students have, that many singers have when they're starting this journey towards natural singing, towards better singing, towards good singing. And the question that always gets asked is, how do I sing high without pushing? How do I let go and release higher? So let's get into it. So the first thing I see and the first thing I want to talk about is just simple misconceptions. A lot of the time, learning singers seem to have this sense of trying to find something, find my head voice. Kind of. Also, a lot of singers have this sense that, they need to avoid the break. They need to somehow find a way around the break. A lot of these ideas can send you towards trouble. A lot of the focus on support, a lot of the focus on posture, all of this stuff can be red herrings that just send you in the wrong direction. Keep this in mind always. 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds, 8-year-olds are figuring this out. You do not need to be particularly intelligent to get into head voice to figure out how to sing high without strain. Now, contrary to that, you do need to be intelligent and you do need to be thinking far too much about singing to have a break, to have problems in your high range, to have issues with your voice. The reason I mention this to start out is that people who struggle to get high without pushing, most of the time, they've learned to push. They've learned to reach. Now, they haven't done this consciously, but they've learned to fear singing quote-unquote high. And that fear has created the problems that they have. And because they have problems, they get more scared, etc., etc. So the first thing you have to keep in mind as you go up higher and you try and get into head voice is this. Do not allow yourself to get overwhelmed with fear. Stay in the moment, stay thinking about what you're doing, and try and stay calm and relaxed. Just that in itself will help you to start getting higher without reaching. Now, with that being said, how do we get into head voice? Let's start delving into this and answering this question. So the first thing you really need to know is this, is the transition that people talk about, the bridge people talk about, E, F sharp area. It's kind of right in a sense if you assume the singer knows what they're doing. But for most people struggling, the problem usually starts, for guys in particular, around middle C. That's when the reach starts. So you have to, around that middle C area, you have to be allowing the voice to break. Now, one thing I talk about with students quite a bit is this, is that great singers, good singers, skilled singers, they are allowing themselves to break. And what I mean by that is this, the reason that they don't break is because they're so comfortable allowing themselves to break. Singers who are uncomfortable breaking tend to clunk over. They tend to clunk. Singers who are comfortable breaking, they just let that happen. Rather than letting it all happen at once, they're just comfortable letting it go in that direction as soon as it wants to. And that's that spot where it starts to want to transition and move is around that middle C area. Now, what's happening there is the cricothyroid muscles are engaging and the larynx is tilting and lengthening the vocal folds as a result. And that lengthening mechanism, that is what you're starting to feel. That is what you're starting to feel around that middle C. It's subtle at first and it gets more pronounced around the E, F sharp and then even more pronounced around the A, B flat, B area above that. Now, one of the reasons why guys find this particularly difficult and girls typically don't is that for men, they have so much chest range, 2/3 of their voice is going to be in chest for most guys. Because of that, typically in day-to-day life, they haven't really navigated up towards head. They're not really sure how to do it because they never have. Now, contrary to that, women have about 2/3 of their range in head and 1/3 in chest. So they've had to, through their just day-to-day lives, navigate in that area of their voice more often. They're used to that feeling of tilt, that feeling of break, that feeling of letting go. And it comes down to this: singers who aren't comfortable releasing, singers who aren't able to let go, they will reach into head, and sometimes they can kind of get into head, but it's not really a true head voice because it contains reach, it contains tension. To truly get into head voice, you have to be able to get there without any tension, without any pull, without any reach. Then you are in head. But before that point, you're kind of pulling chest. So let's just get into some simple scales to help you do this. The most important thing is this: you can go through there on light compression at first, keep the vowel consistent. We're going to do wah, 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 this sound. And you notice it will stay on When you are reaching, you will feel wah, 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 wah. This shift in the position. The split of resonance will start to show preference to the mouth. You'll hear the quality start to change. If you can keep the split even, wah, 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 wah. Listen to that. Now listen to this. That was an even split. This isn't wah, 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 wah. Here, there's more sound starting to come out of the mouth at the top. You've got to keep that split, and you've got to deal with it. Wah, 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 wah. Yeah? So, when we get to middle C, wah, 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 wah. You will hear an even split through the whole exercise. Wah, 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 wah. I'm right here. Wah, 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 wah. You hear it starting to happen already. So, as I go there, if you are reaching, if you're pulling, whoa, 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 if that's happening, let it go. You have to allow your voice to break, even if it clunks at first. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is better than reaching. Whoa, 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 whoa. Yeah, so keep it pure. Keep the vowel split in that same position. Whoa, 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 whoa. And you have to maintain that purity in the vowel and allow the voice to break. Whoa, 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 whoa. Nope. Whoa, 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 whoa. There we go. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now it's light, but it's right, and we don't have this. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is a pull. Even if you get to the pitch at the top, you can hear a change in the sound. I'm not allowing it to break. I'm not allowing it to go where it wants to go. I'm holding on, because I'm scared. Don't be fearful and let this happen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Let it go there. Because that there, whoa, 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 is where your mix is going to be. That there is where the power is going to be, the balanced, controlled power at least. As you go up, you have to keep letting it happen. Whoa, 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 whoa. Now, the other thing we have to keep in mind is what should it feel like to go towards head without reaching? Because there is something that needs to happen. I mentioned the chords lengthening. There's a sensation to that. There is a feeling that people refer to as pressing in. The best way that most people can relate to it is this. That feeling. When I yawn, that cricothyroid mechanism tends to engage. It's like this. If I was talking to you with this here, it would sound like this. It's different to here at the bottom. It's like this kind of whiny quality, like I'm crying. Some people refer to it as a cry. The point is that reference to crying, that feeling, is the engagement of the cricothyroid muscles. It is the lengthening of the vocal cords. It's naturally encouraging that to happen. If you don't allow this to happen at the top, if you don't allow it to cry, it's never going to release. Yeah? Because all I'm doing really as I go up, whoa, 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 I'm engaging some of this quality at the top to keep it balanced and stop it from reaching. Yeah? That's all I'm really doing. Other than that, I'm letting go. Whoa, 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 yeah, it's a cry. It's all of this. I'm exaggerating this quality as I go up to the top, and it sounds really weird if I add it and just exaggerate that function for you. See, after it feels right, I make it sound good. And that's the key thing. So many struggling singers are overly concerned about sounding good quickly. They're not concerned enough about just making it feel right, even if the sound isn't that great at first. Like, I would rather hear somebody kind of talking here and allowing their voice to break than hear something pretty that is that is reached and grabbed on and strained and pushed. You have to find a way to take pressure off your voice as you go up higher. And that really is what head voice is, or getting into head voice, is finding a way to take the pressure off the voice so that we can take it higher without hitting the glass ceiling. And that pressure that we feel releasing and letting go, that is this quality. It's this cry in the sound. And what that is the vocal cords lengthening. It's that cricothyroid muscle or muscles engaging, tilting that larynx and lengthening your vocal folds so they can make any particular pitch without the reach. Now, unfortunately, what happens for most singers is they can engage this cry a little bit or some, so they can kind of get most of the way into head, or they can even get to the G or the A or wherever. But at some point, they start to let go of that cry and they start to pull. And so they get into this confused kind of middle ground where they're mostly in head, but they're still used to reaching above a certain point. So there are levels to this. There are levels to how far somebody can get into head without reaching or pushing. But ultimately, it comes down to this, is how much of that cry can they engage? Because the higher you get, the more of it you need to stay on top and to stay in control and to stop reaching or inhibit the reach. As soon as that cry disappears, as soon as there's not quite enough of it at the top, it will reach. Whoa, 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 whoa. You might be able to release on that B, but when you get onto the C, you can't engage enough cry. Whoa, 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 whoa. It reaches. You're like, why does that reach? Why can't I get higher? You need more cry. Whoa, whoa, whoa. So there should always be enough cry in the sound to stay on top of the sound and stay released, stay free. So it comes down to this, your ability to find the cry, your ability to engage the cry, and your ability to continue to engage more and more of the cry as you get higher is going to be your ability to release into head voice with competence and confidence. Now, as I said earlier, once it feels right, once it feels free, then you can worry about shaping it into something pretty or something light or something more powerful, whatever you want to do. But until it feels right, until the singer's able to prioritize function first before form, they're always going to get to a point when they push, when they reach. They're having to make compromises because they've got their priorities in the wrong stack. First is freedom. Second is closure. Third is shaping and molding the sound into something desirable. So just to summarize here, what I want to encourage you to do, if you are struggling to get into head voice, you've got to reprioritize and you've got to start focusing on how does it feel? How should it feel? What are people that navigate through their bridge successfully feeling? Do not concern yourself at first with sounding good. Concern yourself with it feeling correct, with it feeling free, with this sense of what are natural singers allowing to happen? What are they doing as they go through their range? And what they're doing is they add a little bit of cry and then they shape the sound accordingly once they've got it feeling free and released. But if you can't cry on the tone, if you can't get to that little spot where you're still on top of the pitch, it's a reach. And keep in mind, it can be a semi-reach, it can be a very tiny reach. But as soon as you reach, in a sense, you're kind of out of head voice and you're back into pulling chest. And that's most of the information I can give you regarding how to get into head voice successfully. Now, feel free to ask me any more questions that you have about this in the comments below. And as always, if you want deep singer knowledge you'll get nowhere else, hit that subscribe button, guys. Pound the thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. And I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.